It's not jealousy, baby. It's just wisdom. Hi guys, my name is Michelle and welcome to The Weight of Things. In this video, what we are going to be talking about is jealousy in relationships and friends from the opposite sex. Now, this is a topic that I have actually come to change my mind about. It's something that I used to believe what you always hear, which is things like if, a wife doesn't like the fact that her husband has girlfriends, or that he's on the phone with a friend that's a girl, or vice versa. The guy doesn't like that, the woman has girlfriends, or the guy doesn't like that, she's working late and talking to this co-worker at work late. That is jealousy, and that people would say things like, oh, you shouldn't be so jealous. You're so jealous. Well, I wanted to kind of unpack that whole conversation because, as I said, I've come to now change my mind, broaden my horizons, and realize that really that whole concept actually makes no sense. And here's why I say that. It's so funny that we would say that it's jealous if a spouse doesn't want their spouse, whether it be their wife or their husband, doesn't want them to be talking to, people from the other sex or to be messaging with somebody from the opposite sex. But if a parent were to say that they don't want their child, going to that person's house, that adult's house, or sitting on that adult's lap, we don't say that that's jealousy. If somebody has a car and they say that I don't want this person driving my car, we don't say that it's jealousy, because we realize that that makes no sense. How could the person be jealous of something that is already there? However, because it is theirs, they may have certain things that they like and certain things that they do not like, which is perfectly okay. It's fine if you don't want your child to go to someone's house. It's fine if you don't want somebody to drive your car. And not to say that a child and a spouse is like a possession, like something that you own. However, when you do become married, you are now one flesh. And so that is your other half. And it is perfectly okay for you, and normal even, for you to not be very happy if they are having late night conversations, or even conversations at all behind your back with somebody from the opposite sex. The reason why I wanted to talk about this is because I feel like, as I said, I used to do this whole thing of buying into that and thinking that people, oh, you're just acting so jealous. And I feel like we have come to a place where we demonize people who are just using wisdom and saying that I just don't think that this is appropriate. This is just something that I don't feel comfortable with. We make them think that they are wrong. And not only are they wrong, but there's something wrong with them, why they even have a problem with that. I think with everything, there's always a balance. So if the person is always looking through the person's phone, or always skeptical, always watching what they're doing, even if it's not with someone with the opposite sex, then that might be overkill. However, I also still would not call that jealousy. I might say that that person may struggle with insecurities, but to say that that person is jealous of their husband or whatever, their fiance, doesn't really make sense, because they are already with them. So they don't have any reason to be jealous. I think that it is wisdom for us to want to make sure that there is no room for any inappropriate things to happen, any inappropriate thoughts and stuff. And we have to realize and understand how our minds work. And we work very differently. For men, a lot of men, I'm not saying all men, but a lot of men are very visual. So when it comes on to seeing a woman that is very attractive, a woman that may not be dressed the most appropriately, that might be an area where they are weaker. Whereas for us women, a lot of us women are more emotional. And so a lot of times, if we have like that whole like hero damsel in distress situation where we're really stressed out and maybe we're not feeling like we're getting the affection and that attention at home, and then somebody else is showing that to us, as much as we're able to kind of resist that, I think that that is our weaker point. Now, again, that is not an apply all rule. Not saying that all men are visual and as soon as they see an attractive woman that they just like fall over. Clearly that is not the case. And not saying that all women are just like weak when it comes on to a guy thinking that he's so macho. That is clearly not the case either. However, that is generally how us as women work, and generally how men is generally their weaker area as well. So in realizing that, I definitely think that, in my opinion, having friends from the opposite sex could be a dangerous situation, and it could be something that you are setting yourself up for temptation and for possible falling into a situation that is not the best. Now, a lot of us think that, oh, that won't happen to me. Like, I'm so, like, strong, and, that's just ridiculous. Like, I can control myself. And that may be the case. However, some things happen that are very subliminal, and you don't even realize what's going on until it's already too late. So for us to want to put ourselves into a situation that is compromising, and then afterwards think that we are so strong that we're not going to fall, is putting ourselves into a situation that's not very wise. I've seen it happen time and time again. Even in the Bible, we see the wisest man, Solomon. We see the strongest man, Samson. And we see King David all fall for the temptation and lust based on a woman. And we can also see from an everyday life that women are not immune to this either. A lot of times things look innocent, and they may start off innocent, but as I said, when you put yourself in a compromising situation that can lead to temptation, it's harder to resist it when you don't even realize what's happening. Now, I personally had a situation a few years ago where I had this person that I met online, and I thought that this is a friend. We would only talk about scriptures. This is a guy, we would talk about scriptures and everything like that. And even though nothing inappropriate specifically happened, talking anything sexual, talking anything that's inappropriate, the point is that even in itself opens the door for questions, and for you to almost feel like you are missing something, or to look at your spouse kind of sideways. And they're telling you about all these things that they're doing with their spouse, and maybe you're not getting that. Even though you and that friend may not be having what you would consider an inappropriate relationship, that can even put doubts in your mind about your current relationship. A lot of times when we get into those relationships, we don't realize that it's inappropriate until it's gone to a certain extent. And sometimes it takes somebody from the outside to realize. There are going to be times where there's rough spots into your relationship. And if you have this friend from the opposite sex and you are going to them for advice, or going to them to vent about whatever is going on in your relationship, number one, that's disrespectful to your spouse, because that is between you and your spouse, and you're talking to somebody from the opposite sex. And number two, again, you're putting yourself in a compromising situation, because you know what? When you're pouring out your heart to this other person and you're already having problems with your spouse, and then the other person is there listening to this, you almost develop an emotional attachment to this person because you've poured out your heart to them, you've shared this thing with them, and now you guys have this connection that your spouse is completely left out of. So it's not fair, it's disrespectful to your spouse. And not only that, but now you and that friend have this little connection where your spouse is left out of, and now all of a sudden you're leaning on them, because when they're encouraging you, and I think that this is not even dependent upon whether you're a male or female. I feel like at any sex, that if you're getting encouragement and you're getting motivation and you're getting sympathy from somebody from the opposite sex who isn't your spouse, you will tend to lean on that person even more. You will become closer to that person because that person is actually boosting you up and making you feel good. And soon you will almost not even want to go to your spouse for that reassurance, for that motivation and encouragement. There are many dangers that come with having friends from the opposite sex. As I said, male and female, we are very emotional. Like, females do tend to be more emotional than men, but men are also very emotional. And a lot of times when men are being built up by somebody, when men are having a woman tell them, oh, that they're so handsome, oh, you're so good at this, oh, your wife must be so lucky, that can kind of get into your mind. And women too. That's why I said it's not like a sex thing. It's not dependent upon whether you're a male or female. Women, we do tend to be led more by our emotions. So if we feel like something is going on with our husband, and then another man is telling us how they would treat us, or how they would treat their spouse, or how, that, oh, that's not right, that a man that would do that is not whatever, all of a sudden you're feeling this sense of confidence, and you're getting it from that other person. So now you're almost being led to that other person. A lot of people would think to themselves that, oh, well, I just won't talk about those kind of things. Well, you may not talk about those kind of things with your friend, but your friend may talk about those kind of things with you. As a whole, no matter how many different excuses that we want to make, no matter how much we want to try to normalize this and think that it is perfectly okay, male and female are tend to be attracted to each other. And sometimes it doesn't start off physically. There may be many of you that when you first met your spouse, you weren't physically attracted to them, but you were attracted to their personality. Again, it's just not wise for us to even put ourselves in that kind of temptation or compromising position and tell ourselves that we are going to be the strong person that will never fall. It's time for us as a society to stop demonizing those that cherish their relationships and want to protect it from any form of outside influence or any form of outside attacks or temptations. So no, if you are like me and do not prefer to have your husband or your wife talking to somebody from the opposite sex, you do not prefer to have them on the phone all hours of the night, whether it's work or whatever it may be, talking to someone from the opposite sex, you are not jealous. You are actually being wise. You are using wisdom to realize that there is temptation that could come from this, and realizing that it could be very innocent right now, but it could very quickly turn into a very inappropriate situation without them even realizing. A lot of times when relationships like that turn into inappropriate situations, a lot of the people are in denial because to them, they really don't realize how it's turned into an inappropriate relationship. As I said, there is an extreme when there is just zero trust and you just have to be knowing and going through their phone and everything like that. That is not jealousy though. That may be a form of insecurity. And I think that when we love our spouse, if we realize that our spouse is suffering with a little bit of insecurity, it is our responsibility to kind of make them feel secure in this relationship. There must be a reason in that case why that person is feeling a little bit insecure. And when we love that person, we would want them to feel that sense of security. So instead of making them feel bad, we should be wanting to help them in that area. We may be already married. We may already have the ring. So it's not that we are jealous. However, we are wise enough to realize that there are some women and some men that just like a challenge. They may not even be attracted to your husband or your wife. They may not even want them, but in the simple fact, they just want to know, some people, that they have the opportunity to have them if they wanted to. We need to have respect for the sanctity of marriage. We need to have respect for a union of two people coming together. Respect enough to lay down what we want. We may think that we're strong enough to have a friend from the opposite sex, but if our spouse is like, no, I don't feel comfortable with this, we should be willing to lay down what we think we're going to be okay with and realize that this person that we are with doesn't feel comfortable with it, and be able to lay down what we want for that other person. Not only that, it's just not wise for us to put ourselves in that kind of temptation and situation to begin with, just thinking and hoping that we'll be able to resist when the time comes. And going further, it's important for us to make sure that other people have respect for our relationship and respect for our union. Other people of the opposite sex, whether co-workers or whoever they may be, need to have respect enough for your spouse that they do not draw certain lines that they shouldn't. It's up to us to lay those boundaries and tell them that, no, you can't call my house after certain hours. No, I can't go out with you, for a lunch date. We need to be able to set boundaries that our spouse feels comfortable with. And we need to be able to help our spouse. We need to want them to feel secure into the relationship, and also realize that they may be seeing something that we're not seeing. And also for us to just realize that it's not worth it for us to even chance it and say that, oh, it won't happen to us. Because I can guarantee you that a lot of people that end up in emotional or sexual affairs, that they would have probably told you in the beginning that it wouldn't have happened to them. A lot of times it's mistakenly taken on as just a pure physical relationship. However, there are emotional attachments as well. So I want to let us all know that no, we are not crazy. No, we are not this jealous, crazy person because we want to protect our relationship. It's perfectly normal, and it's actually very healthy for us to set boundaries and for us to want to protect something that we cherish, which is our relationship. So I hope that has helped you guys. I hope that kind of breaks this whole thing down with jealousy and talking about having friendships of the opposite sex. And definitely please make sure that you subscribe, click the bell below, because I will be doing a few videos for the next couple of weeks talking about different things to do with relationships. So you won't want to miss those videos. So please make sure and click the bell and subscribe so that you will be notified of every time I create a new video. Thanks for watching.